What's up, everybody? It's Drew Muzan here from Unplugged. I'm here with Joshua Ezzy. So, Purpose of Singleness book coming out
Yeah, man.
November 18th. Third book.
Third.
And when did the first one, Unplugged, come out?
Hey, the first book came out, I believe it was February of 2010. It was during a period of my life where I would have never thought that God wanted to use me to produce a book, let alone multiple books. But I knew it came out of a very turbulent time out of my life. It came during a season where I had nothing, yo. It came right out of Oral Roberts. Wasn't able to finish school, man. The girl that I was going to marry lost that, lost my job, lost all these different pivotal things that I thought made me a man. To the only thing I had was nothing. And it's interesting that I tell most people sometimes God won't let you start nothing until you have nothing.
Yeah.
And that when you have nothing, you have everything because you have Him. So starting that first book was a very monumentous thing in my life, because I was like, yo, I would have never thought a guy who has C's and D's, even F's in English, could possibly write a whole a book that's still impacting lives today. So it's kind of cool to know that 8 years ago, I'm at my third book. I would have never known. I would never thought.
So talk about your progression as an author from then to now, and what things you learned, what things you changed, stuff like that.
One thing that I learned about being an author was just trust the process, man. Like, I used to be that type of dude that was trying to force everything without going with the flow. And I tell anybody who's trying to do anything creative, when you try to force it, you actually increase the failures. You increase the turnarounds, the U-turns, the mess ups, the this came from me. But when I really got into prayer mode and fasting mode, I realized it was from those moments that I received my greatest wisdom. So I guess the progress has been, the more I've matured in this Christian walk, I've gotten deeper in God. By me getting more deeper into Him, positioned me to get even more revelation. That's why I was like, man, I'm almost addicted to spending time with God. I'm almost addicted to the fruits that come from that. So the progression came from, God introducing myself to being an author and using analogies. Now I'm increasing my analogies. From when I first wrote my book, now I'm practicing my people skills. I'm practicing analogies even more. I'm trying to find anything to bring a point out. And I think that exercise throughout those years kind of helped me bring more imagery and bringing more vivid points to people that they'll be able to really enjoy this book here.
Okay. So when I think about the purpose of singleness, that's like a hot button issue.
Yeah.
A lot of people are struggling with their singleness.
Yeah.
So talk to me about how you came up with, or decided to come up with, to do the book, and the purpose behind doing the book.
The purpose behind the book is not what people probably will assume, because they see the word singleness, they think that it's about people who's not married. It's actually about being whole. The subtitle is, are you whole, or are you full of holes? Many people get so caught up on trying to get to that next level, trying to progress, trying to, per se, get to this moment in life where they say, when I get here, I'm somebody. But when you keep focusing on there, you mismanage here. That's why I tell people you can't spell there without here. You cannot get there until you manage here well. It's a fundamental principle in all of humanity. That in order for me to get to that place of life, marriage, career, success, business, whatever that there is, I gotta make sure that I manage here well. That's why God said, how can you be faithful over much if you're not faithful over little? So people overlook the stage they're in because of the resistance, because of the frustrations of it, but they fail to realize those frustrations, those resistances, those failures is shaping you to be whole for that next level. People think that marriage and success and ministry and business is going to be easy, man. More blessings, more burdens. People don't understand that with blessings comes responsibilities, that the more I have, the more I have to manage. The more that I achieve, the more I got to make sure I sustain. People are good at getting it, but not everybody's good at keeping it. So the point of this book is to talk about individuality. It's about talking about, am I developing in the saving work of Christ? Am I being whole enough? Because there's one major hole in our life that only Jesus can plug in. And many people are trying to complete or compete the next season, or compete with others, or try to do all these different things, but they're not complimenting that next person. They're not complimenting that next season. Whole people complement. Halves are trying to complete. The only person that ever completed us was Jesus. From that completion, from the completed work on the cross, now I am now positioned to one day compliment a wife, to one day compliment what comes with success. And when people get focused on, I'm not going to worry about bothering heaven with my desires. I'm going to bombard heaven with continue to make me whole. I'm not going to waste God's ears in his time of listening, trying to find out answers, I'm going to enjoy him being the answer. So that when he is the answer, I'll find the other answers. But I'm whole enough, strong enough, able enough to handle the answer when they come.
So when you think about singleness, it's a topic that a lot of people, it's something that a lot of people don't want to go through.
Yeah.
So why is it so important for us to be content in our singleness, and why shouldn't we just want to overlook this period and skip to it and get to the marriage and get to what people call the fun part of life? So talk to me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, most people overlook what they need to really address. And sometimes people are not content with singleness. Mm-hmm. The reason why they're not content with it is because nobody's content with practice. Nobody likes practice when you're a ball player. Nobody likes running suicides. Yeah. Nobody likes training. People love performance. We have been indoctrinated, or to a degree, been so caught up on success. When we see LeBron, we see success. When we see Jordan, we see success. When we see all these different people, we're watching TV of their performance.
Yeah.
I wish they videotaped the 3-hour practices. Exactly. I wish they had a Netflix series on practices so we could see the process. We've seen the end so much that we have been intoxicated with the idea of what that looks like, but fail to realize to ask and interview the person, so how is marriage for real? Many of us, we spend so much time consulting the people who's been in marriage for 2, 1, or haven't been married at all, versus going to the people who fell in and out of love but stayed together. When we interview people who are actually successful, every successful person, no matter what field they're in, they're always going to let you know that the bulk of what I've accomplished was in the process. People get so caught up on a destination, the finish line, but they fail to realize or fail to embrace the journey. Listen, many people get so caught up on asking God, are we there yet? That you missed the mountains.
Yep,
you missed the scenery. Mm-hmm. You missed everything that the journey gives you. By the time you get to the destination, you have no story because you didn't take time to look at the scenery. So,
So what are some, like, the top 3 things you want people to take away from this book?
The top 3 things, number 1, I want them to understand how much they need to love God, man. Like, God is everything to me. This book is not a book of tickling the intrigue. It's not about inspiring people to idolize marriage. It's not what this book is about. It's not about in motivating people to have success without God. This book's not about. There's so much truth in there. One of my favorite parts of the book is talking about idolatry, how we have idolized the next level, the next stage, the next season. Another part of my book is talking about skipping steps and these different things. I'm talking about the truth of the matter, that most of us, the reason why we're mismanaging our season is because we have idolized things in that season, or idolized the idea of a season. And so many people get so caught up on, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get there. But they fail to realize that when you get there with that idolatrous heart, that adulterous heart, you're going to mismanage that. And so the point of this book is to realize the grind, the grunge of development, the importance of development, the glory from development. Not just glory for me to get the glory, but my hope is when people read this book, they're going to be like, God, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to maximize this season for you. I'm going to do what it takes to make sure that when I die, that you're going to get so much fruit from my life. I tell people what drives me, what motivates me is 2 words. Well done.
Yes, sir.
What motivates me is knowing that when I get to heaven, God's not saying, well, your tally stops here, Josh. I want him to be like, Josh, you're still impacting lives while you're dead. And that's why I want to get people in a place where they say, you know what? Get that book written. Get that song accomplished. Get that business ministry started. Stop idolizing something you don't have. Stop trying to control a season that's not present. Listen, there's a reason for every season. If you maximize and discover the reason for this season, you will guarantee to get to the next season, because everyone will tell you how you handle today will determine who you'll be tomorrow. So the hope and the goal is 3 things. Number 1, make sure God has his rightful place. Make sure that God is number 1 and God's at the center. Number 2, don't skip stages. You skip stages, you're going to find yourself back at stage 1. Number 3, enjoy the process of development. I got these 4 points. Self-denial leads to self-discovery. Self-discovery leads to self-development. Self-development leads to self-dominance. If you maximize that formula and say, you know what? He said before I even think about following him, I have to deny myself. In self-denying, when I self-deny myself, I'm actually discovering myself. That when I deny this carnal self of mine and put the death to this flesh every day, I'm actually discovering more and more about myself in this renewed life. That when I get self-discovery, I'm like, whoa, I didn't know I was an author. I didn't know I could put concerts together. I didn't know I could develop courses and curriculums. Oh, I'm discovering myself because I denied myself because I found Christ. From that pivotal point, it leads to self-discipline and self-development. It makes me want to do better. Discipline and development ensures that there's more fruit. It's the pruning of the branch to ensure that I bear more fruit. And it leads me to self-dominance, self-control, meaning that, you know what? My why is bigger than the what that I want to do.
Yeah.
I kill this flesh every day. I give it no room to live. So the whole purpose of this book is for people to understand the beauty that comes from maximizing the season they're in.
Yeah, that's a lot of great points, man. So when it comes to like the layers of singleness that you address in the book, could you kind of give me some insight on some of the layers that you address of singleness in your book?
As far as when it comes to singleness, as far as not married,
Yeah.
One of the things that I really want to highlight that I highlighted well in this book, I believe, is the concept waiting versus waiting. Probably going to be a chapter that everyone's going to probably love the most.
That was my next.
Because it changes the perspective of the word wait.
Yeah.
They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They'll run and not grow weary. They'll walk and not faint, right?
Yeah.
That word wait in the text does not mean sitting or waiting for something to happen. It's working for something to happen. It means waiting as far as a waitress or a waiter. It means that I don't sit there, I don't renew my strength, because mounting up, walking, and running are action phrases. They're action words. Sitting is not really action. So when people sit there, well, go, God, I've been waiting a mighty long time. All these years I had to fight, and all these years I had to wait. And they get so caught up in the ambiance of weariness.
Yeah.
But when I tell people, I say, when you wake up every morning saying, God, what would you like for breakfast this morning? What would you like from me this morning? Imagine if we woke up every day saying, God, what do you have for me to do? Let me serve you. You renew yourself. Because when God opens doors for me to impact others, that's fuel. When I gave a word for somebody randomly on a job, or give a dap to a kid and the kid cries and the kid, all these different experiences, when I'm actually able to be there for people, that fuels me. It gives me strength. It renews me. It gives me the ability to say, keep pushing, because your fruit is not going to be in vain. Your work, not your fruit, but your your process and your work won't go in vain. When people understand that I'm going to be too busy serving God, or too productive in serving God, to be focused on penetrative thoughts that's gotten me so captivated with the idea of love, you think about something you don't have, you're going to be messed up.
Yep.
But when you consume yourself with who you have and what you have, you'll be so focused on God. Okay, you could take these 5 stones in a slingshot and destroy giants. God started off just about everything with little. My man brought a fish plate, 2 fishes and some loaves, and he broke that and fed thousands. Instead of waiting and asking God for much, start with the little that you have, because if you put it in his hands and he breaks it, it multiplies.
Yeah. So I want to get into some of the chapters, if you want to give me some insight on some of the chapters. So chapter 2, bad habits and the baggage you carry. Give me a little bit more insight about that chapter. It's kind of an intriguing title.
Bad habits, man, comes with certain baggages, right? A lot of people get so caught up on not addressing the little foxes, that the little habits, those things. And I tell people, I always be like, man, I want a man of God, or I want a woman of God, or I want millions of dollars. But God's like, your habits is contradictory to what you want. How are you going to sit there and ask God to heal you from heart disease and you still eating fried chicken every day? How are you going to ask God to heal you from diabetes, asking him for blessings, when he knows there's a hole in your life that's going to cause that blessing to flood through? God is the ultimate business person, the ultimate steward.
Yeah.
He's the ultimate. So God understands. He knows. He can measure your heart to see if you have enough to manage what you ask. That's why before you ask, you consult your heart. Because when you consult your heart, you will ask correctly, because you'll say, I'm not even ready for that. When you look inside yourself, self-examination says, you know what? I got some habits in my life that is not conducive for me to manage that. So those bad habits, many people have been practicing these bad habits for so long that have developed so many baggages that they're now trying to carry these Louis Gucci bags, or the bag from Walmart, no matter what kind of bag you carry, because some people got some Louis Vuitton baggages, that high esteem, those type of bags. No matter what kind of bag you have, whether it's low end or high end, all of us got baggages. And what we do is, instead of putting those bags before the cross and having Jesus unpack those bags, we ask the other person, can you please unpack this for me? So your first 3 years of marriage is consumed with helping unpack the bag of someone else. But imagine if we said, God, clean this heart of mine of all bad habits. We're not asking for perfection. We're asking for progressiveness. Saying, God, unpack these bags so that when I go to my wife, she's not going to be burdened because of my bad habits. So I tell people, whatever you practice in your single life, you will perform in your married life. I do doesn't erase a porn addiction. I do doesn't erase a pride issue. I do doesn't get rid of that.
Yeah.
What he did does. And trusting and resting in what he did does. But when people say, you know what, these hidden habits, those hidden habits create bigger baggages. And the bulk of your marriage, the bulk of your time is dealing with somebody's unhealed wounds.
Yeah. And most of that comes from a veil being over their eyes, right?
Yep.
So talk to me a little bit about how we can, does the chapter kind of talk more about how to uncover that veil? And
talks about, it gives a process. I forgot my point specifically, but there's a process in that book that talks about how to reverse those bad habits, to reverse that, and how to go to God and for him to unpack those bags.
Okay.
But most people, man, they don't want to take the time to really wait for God to do that.
Yeah.
And people don't realize just how much junk they have.
Yeah.
People don't realize just how bad off they really are. And a lot of people who think they're good are really the worst because they are subtle issues in their heart. A lot of people had traumatic experiences, so they know why they got baggages. But there's some self-righteous people, some people that got subtle issues that are the biggest ones because it affects their perspective on the people that God loves the most, the least of these, right? And so the whole purpose of that chapter is really to get people to understand, be self-reflective, be self-examining. Ask yourself what's inside of me that shouldn't be, and ask God to unpack those bags so that God can liberate you to enjoy the blessings of marriage, to enjoy the blessings of success. Because a lot of people got a lot of issues that's destroying their potential.
Okay, so the next chapter I wanted to touch on, that was another vain and valid imaginations.
Actually, that didn't make the cut, man.
That didn't make the cut?
Let's get the next book.
Okay. Oh, all right.
I had to make a cut.
Oh,
man.
okay.
Yeah, too many pages.
The layers of insecurities.
That's a heavy chapter.
Yeah.
That's why I put it towards the end.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask him, like it's the last chapter.
Layers of insecurities, that many people have so many layers of why they're insecure. A lot of people right now are insecure because of what happened to them when they was 8 years old.
Yeah.
What happened to them when they was 7. What happened to them when they was 9. And so what happened to these individuals is they only attack the symptom but never the source. A lot of us are trying to deliver me from the symptoms, God. But God's like, what's the core reason? Why is this thing really in your life?
Yeah.
Many people always attack the porn addiction, but never attack what caused it. They always attack the lying issue, but never attack the emotional wound or the emotional reasons why. There's a cause to every effect. There's a reason why you do what you do. And the core of that is idolatry. That I've idolized something for so long, or I haven't allowed God to fill the void in my life to the point to where now I'm living life from insecurities and voids. So now all of a sudden I got these issues in my heart that I'm actually, because the Bible says out of the heart flows the issues of life. So when you have a heart issue, it's not that you have a mental issue or emotional issue, you have a heart issue. And that heart is because you've been depraved. That heart shows that you haven't been regenerated. And people have to really say, God, I need you to secure my insecurities and help me go to the level in which this thing was conceived. You can't handle the fruit of something until you first ask how it was conceived. When did this begin? A lot of people have issues with sexuality. A lot of people have issues with pornography. A lot of issues with heart and character issues from something that was conceived. If you go back, you can find when it was started. And the quicker you can discover that, you can cut that stronghold out of your life through the blood of Jesus and be freed from it. And you'll no longer be insecure. You'll no longer live from that. You will live from a place of knowing who you are in Christ and being confident in who he is.
Yeah, that definitely is a deep chapter, man. Got a lot of good nuggets in there. So, last one before we kind of tail off to the end, policies and procedures. Did that make the cut?
That might be my best chapter in the book, man. Everyone, I talk in that chapter, I'm giving too much, but I talked in that chapter about Fortune 500 companies, what makes those companies successful. And one thing that makes those companies successful is that they have policies and procedures. A policy is by which is a law or something in your company that your company follows. The procedures ensures that policy stands. So if a person has a policy in their life, and I put this in my book, a girl says, I'm not gonna have sex till I'm married. That's a policy.
Mm-hmm.
But if she has no procedures to keep that policy, the guy who creeps in and she doesn't keep that policy, he's not gonna respect that policy again. When I used to work at the Y, if you bend the rules, people not gonna expect people not gonna respect the original rule because you broke that original rule for somebody else. So that person's mindset now is, how do you expect me to respect the policy you don't respect? So in life, you got to make sure you have policies in place in your life. The I wants and the I wills. What will I do? What will I not do? What are those things that I'm not going to do in life? Make sure you have procedures, boundaries, systems in place to ensure that policy is kept. So if you say, I'm not going to have sex till I'm married, or I'm not going to do this, or I'm not going to do that, you got to make sure you have procedures in place so that when something attacks that policy, you have stuff to keep that policy in place. So in that chapter, I talk about who to hire, who to fire. I talk about in that book about your marketing, your branding plan, how you present yourself. I talk about all the different components that makes a 500 company great.
That's deep. That really is deep. Yeah, we don't want to give too much about that.
That's true. They gotta read that.
So yeah, November 18th. What else do we have going on that day?
November 18th, the book releases on Amazon for sure. The Purpose of Singleness.
Yep.
Also, November 18th, we're having a benefit event.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a workshop. I want everybody to come out. I want this place full. We're going to be on this stage. We're going to have a good conversation about, I don't know which chapter I'm going to hit on, but I'm going to talk about wholeness for sure. But I want to do a workshop so people who've never been unplugged can feel the feel of unplugged. We're going to have some great performers, have some great poetry from Valentina Escobar. I think I said her name right because she'll be mad if I didn't. I think her name is Miss Valentina Escobar. Let me make sure I put the Miss in there, M-I-S-S. I don't want, you know how she gets. But also, we're going to have some great performances from Jeremiah Bligen. I say his name wrong. He'll be there. We're working on getting another gentleman to perform. But we're going to have a great time, man. We're going to sign some books. We're going to have a great time, great fellowship. And we're going to also be giving away $4 for every book that sells that night to helping us develop our mentoring programs in the school that I work at. So we're going to have some representatives from that school will be there. And we're going to, we got our first plug-in. We got our first school. So Propel Mentoring is officially alive and going. It's time to rally the people. It's time to rally some funds and really impact the students that I deal with on an everyday basis, tracking them through middle school, high school, making sure these kids are on the right path of creativity, and make sure they're assured the different resource they need to be successful. So we're excited about that night, November 18th. I want to make sure these guys are there. Doors open at 7. The events are 7:30. You're going to be hosting, so it's going to be a great opportunity for you.
Definitely come out and see that.
Definitely come out and see that. The books are $12.99. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, definitely. So this book is definitely going to be a big hit. I'm excited for you, and I can't wait for the people to get it, man.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Good talk, man.